Welcome everybody to Football Is, and That Is What I Want's Tales of a Groundhopper. Okay, so it gives me pride, actually. I'm going to say pride, a lot of pride to welcome my next guest. It's Mr. Ollie Bayliss. How you doing, Ollie?
Yeah, I'm good. Pride's a bit much, but
Pride's brilliant, mate. Pride's brilliant. I had this time last year. I had 14 followers on Twitter, so pride is definitely the word.
It's not about the number. Were they good 14?
They're all right. Yeah.
They're good people, and
they are. They're not bad. Not bad. So yeah, thanks for joining us tonight, Ollie. Really appreciate it, mate. I've got down here, and I will just let the listeners know. So, presenter of the non-league show, football commentator and journalist at BBC Three, Three Counties Radio. And more importantly, a researcher at Football Manager.
It's the dream.
Do you know what? That's incredible.
It's the dream.
Yeah, it is. That is the dream. That is amazing. How did you get into that?
It's an unpaid role, so they I get the name of the credits.
Yeah.
I get to be a regen or a new gen. I don't remember which one it is, but when they create new players.
Yeah.
So occasionally I pop up as like a 17-year-old at Scunthorpe with 1-star ability. It's unpaid. I think I saw it on a forum. Would have been 10, 12 years ago, something like that they're looking for people to help out with some of the non-league teams.
Yeah.
And they, you kind of log on and do some stats and keep sort of player appearances up to date and the dribbling, shooting, passing stats, stuff like that.
That's spot on.
To do that every January and every summer.
That's
but it's great fun. I love the game, so it's great.
Oh, I love it. Do you know what? It's so funny. I was playing it at lunchtime today, and I'm Telford United. I've just gotten promoted from the Vanarama National, and second to last game, a bit of naughtiness. I put the keeper to have penalties, and I'm not even exaggerating. I got a hat trick with the goalkeeper today. I've never seen that happen. 3 penalties. I've never seen 3 penalties in the game before. So I was on cloud 9. But that's brilliant. I mean, that's amazing. That is the dream. I've loved Football Manager for so many years. I love playing the game, as I'm sure a lot of listeners do. But it's your role in non-league that's drawn me towards you, Ollie. I mean, you are such a great advocate for non-league. And it's fantastic. How did you get into that?
For me, it's kind of always been football. Really. I mean, I follow the Premier League and league football as well. But growing up, I live in Aylesbury in Buckinghamshire. And at that point, there was no football leagues. I mean, we've now got MK Dons and Wycombe. There's no football league team within 30, 40 miles. So I used to go with my dad to watch Aylesbury United, they're my local team. And at that point, they were in Ryman Premier, so the second tier of non-league football. Had a season in the old conference, a decent standard of non-league, and it felt like half the town used to turn out. You get 1,000 or so in the ground, really good atmosphere, local football. You could park 20 minutes before kick-off. You could be out by 5 o'clock as well. It's nice and convenient. It's affordable. It's friendly. And I think you saw it as a good atmosphere to take a kid to as well. And ultimately, you're not spending a ton of money. If I hadn't liked it, it would have been, I think it was kids for £1 for the first few years there. So it was like, if you're an adult, you can get a kid in for £1. So it was always a really fun way to spend a Saturday afternoon. I got a bit older and used to go to Tuesday night games. That was always a bit special. Still is, really, isn't it? Like under the lights.
Yeah, definitely.
Football, sort of proper non-league football under the Tuesday night or Wednesday nights. So growing up was kind of all I knew. Really, I supported Arsenal, but never used to go to Arsenal games, watch them on the telly, and they were still my Premier League team that I follow. And I think a lot of people have 2 or 3 teams, don't they? It's one of the beauties of non-league football. You better be hedging your bets. You support your local side.
Definitely.
But if they're having a poor season, you can, support someone else in league football at the same time.
Definitely.
There's more than enough teams to go around.
Oh, and some. And do you know, it's funny you say about Tuesday night games. I was very lucky in January of all months of the year to get a Friday night game in. And I haven't had a Friday night game in years. I can remember when they used to have them, and it was incredible. The atmosphere was spot on. There was no trouble. The fans just loved it. And it was a derby between Dudley Town and Dudley Sports and Social in the West Midlands Regional Premier Division. But the fans were there in their droves. It was like 300 fans there, which is brilliant. It's a great advocate for non-league. So, I see exactly what you're saying. And the fact that you say you can have so many teams you support in non-league, it's so true. I follow so many just through affinity of, going to watch them or just liking the name. So it's that's what we love about non-league. But how many games have you been to, would you say?
Oh, that's difficult. I just turned 31 last week, so it's probably got to be in the high hundreds, maybe 1,000. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these people. I've just recently started trying to put together and trying to remember grounds I've been to sort of try and add them up. But I'm not one of these people who. I've got a great amount of respect for people who do who sort of buy the programs and log it. For me,
Definitely.
I don't, which means I forget. Normally, it's Twitter or my camera roll on my phone to try and remember what games I was at the last couple of weeks. I'm not a great one for remembering or counting, but I probably try and do 30, 40 games a season.
That's real, that is.
A few grounds, things like that. And what you said about Friday night, I saw, Friday night game this season, Broadfield, who a club I hadn't been to before. They ground share with Harefield, so it was a Vars game that's played on Friday.
Okay, yeah.
I'll tell you what, brilliant atmosphere. I think they're playing Hammersmith Villa, with the side. But yeah, it actually got me thinking at the time, and they were saying that they got double the crowd they would normally get.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's an argument to moving normally games to a Friday night or even a Sunday, where you've got local fans that might go and see a league club on a Saturday, and actually you kind of bring in those neutrals. We had locally Biggleswade FC had a really good FA Vars Cup run the year before last, and they play games on a Sunday because they're ground shared, so they played all their Vars games on a Sunday, and they got all the other sort of local fans and the two other clubs in Biggleswade as well. All their fans came to watch them as well. Actually, I think sometimes the Sunday games or Friday night games are really, really good.
I agree. It takes you back to sort of, I don't know if you remember, the old days with Tranmere, when Tranmere used to play on the Fridays and they would get the Liverpool and Everton fans there. And I agree. A lot of the fans that I saw at this Dudley game were Wolverhampton fans, West Brom fans, who, because it wasn't on the Saturday, they were able to come and watch a bit of football. So I'm exactly the same as you when you say about these people that go and watch the games and go across the country ground hopping. It's incredible the drive they've got to do it. It's one on me, and I'm enjoying being part of that now this season. But with regards to the grounds you've been to, and as you say, you've been to a fair few. What would you say is your favourite ground and why?
I mean, growing up, I had really fond memories of Aylesbury United ground, Buckingham Road, which sadly is no longer there. They lost the ground 15 years ago or so now. It's now finally being demolished after several attempts to buy it back. I won't bore you with the whole history of it. So that was always fond memories. And I think that was, to be honest, in terms of probably wasn't actually that special. It was sort of a fairly generic sort of out of the box ground, but the atmosphere and the sort of nostalgia for that was brilliant. These days, we've got a few good local grounds around here. Hemel Hempstead, Towns, Vauxhall Road. That's always a good atmosphere. That's a nice one. A couple of really sort of old traditional St Albans, Clarence Park.
St Albans,
Hitchin Town, Topfield. One I went to season before last, which I've never been to before. I really like. It's a bit quirky. Sutton United, Gander Green Lane, because they've got the 3G pitch, but it's a really old. So you've sort of got old wooden stands and loads of pillars, and it feels really, really old school. You've got this really super modern 3G pitch. It's a really sort of weird juxtaposition, really odd, but I really like that somehow.
Wasn't that the goalkeeper, Sutton United?
Yes.
At the pie in the game and got banned.
The goalkeeping coach. His name escapes me. Goalkeeping coach. Wayne Shaw.
Something like that, isn't it?
Who?
There was a bet that he was going to have he was going to eat a pucker pie. I remember watching the game. Who was it? Was it Arsenal?
It was that cup run, wasn't it? I think it was when they played.
It was Arsenal.
It was that cup run, and he was
just the tape on his fingers, and he's just got the pie, and he goes in the slow motion of it. I was just, that's just football, isn't it?
It's brilliant. They had a fantastic cup run. I think was that the same season as Lincoln as well. Had a really good cup run that season.
I think it was. Yeah. It's that's the thing. That's the beauty of cup football, though, isn't it? You get these ties that would never happen, and you get these things happen that no one's really used to. So the world media were just dumbfounded when they saw him eating this pie and the thing that was made of it. But I mean, as well as I do, that's week in, week out in some grades. Do you know what? Something I wanted to touch on quickly, actually, before I move on to the next one. And I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot with this. What were your thoughts on non-league being cancelled this season?
I think that null and void decision. I think the longer time goes on, the worse it looks. I think it was at the time it felt sad, but it felt like they'd made a decision, and it felt like if the whole of English football goes that way, or if the whole of English football goes that way for leagues that can't be finished, if the Premier League and the Championship finish, fine. Ultimately we want leagues to finish if they can. But I think if the rest of them were made null and void, and League One, League Two, all the way down, then I think clubs in non-league step 3 downwards can probably say, okay, fair enough. But it's the complete English football supposed to exist, on a ladder and in a pyramid, and leagues are supposed to link into one another.
Yeah.
And the situation we have now, where teams that were at the top of step 3 and were due to get promoted, their season's been made null and void. The National League look like they're probably going to finish on a points per game system and probably going to promote and relegate to a point. League 2, their club seems to be fighting for the survival of Stevenage or Macclesfield, whoever ends up bottom, which to me, fair enough if you're not going to relegate anybody, fine. I think that could have been one solution where you promote but you don't relegate. But it feels wrong to me to pick and choose leagues to relegate and promote based on who's going to cause the biggest fuss. There's even a suggestion that the League One are looking to extend the playoffs to 6 teams to keep more teams happy, and that's not the rules. I appreciate that it's fine margins and to lose out on one of a point per game or whatever. But you've got to have one rule for the whole pyramid. If you don't, it kind of makes a mockery of the whole system.
I agree, and like a point that I've been trying to research this, and for the life of me I can't find an answer. With Bury going from League One at the start of the season, does that mean that even if there's no promotions, that they will just stick to that? Do you think, or will Barrow get to the promised land and get up there? Because that left a void, didn't it? That happened when, and let's be honest, again sliding away here, that should never have happened. The leagues have these fit and proper tests. People have to go through, and it was just a shambles from day one. But then, does this stop clubs like Bury, like the Isle of Man, teams like that who are joining, as new teams? What does that do for them? It's a mess.
I mean, the letter of the law, as far as the FA have set it out, is that step 7 to step 3, null and void, is going to be the same next season. There's going to be no change. Well, in reality, 10 clubs or so have now folded since the start of last season, so you've got gaps already. Yep. You've got clubs that want to be relegated, want to jump down a division to stabilise financially. In reality, it's not going to work. And whether or not at some point they slightly budget and allow a couple of teams to go up based on this season's record, although they've expunged it, I don't think legally, they could do that. No. But whether they allow, it doesn't do anyone any favours not allowing AFC Bury to join the pyramid this season. Why would you not? It'd be brilliant for non-league football. You've got a huge Phoenix club joining. Bury fans deserve a club to support one way or another. Same with Isle of Man. Why? It doesn't do anybody any favours, but equally, they were both hoping to join at step 6. We've got clubs that should have been promoted from step 7. It's not really fair to, if you've got a club at step 7 that have gone the season unbeaten, top of the league with due promotion, it's not really fair not to promote them, but to let clubs join at step 6. It's a bit of a mess. It's a headache for the FA, and they haven't. I've asked them questions about Isle of Man and Bury at the moment. It's too early to say. Bury is probably too early to say, but that's the kind of answer. But I know that Bury AFC and Isle of Man have been kept in the dark a little bit about what's going to happen going forward. It's a difficult situation. And then Bury, I gather, are also the old Bury are reapplying to try and join the National League maybe as well. Go to the FA, we gather, and where I can't see them being allowed to join in the National League.
No.
Wait and see. I think it's no fault of Bury fans, is it? But I think if you miss the season, you can't just sort of accept that you're going to get relegated down a couple of divisions and carry on from there. It doesn't really normally work like that. No,
and it's also the teams like, and you know, I've spoken about it, I've seen you speak about it on Twitter. It's teams like Jersey Bulls, like Vauxhall Motors, who were promoted. They'd done Jersey Bulls had won every game. They'd done everything they needed to do to get promoted, and then to be told now, potentially, if we're going as it is now, you're not going up. It's got to be the biggest kick in the teeth, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's really harsh on those two in particular. Jersey Bulls have won every single game and dropped a point. It doesn't do anyone any favours, really, keeping them at that level again. Combined Counties, Division 1, I think it doesn't do anyone any favours keeping them in that league for next season. It's really harsh on them, and you can bet if they've done that in League 1, or certainly my personal view is if they've done that in League 1, or they've done that in the National League, there is no way they wouldn't be getting promoted. It's only that,
of course,
or if it's very hard to see Liverpool not pick up a Premier League title even if the season doesn't finish. The Premier League isn't going to be made null and void. You wouldn't imagine it. It's only that they're kind of hidden away in non-league and perhaps don't have as big a voice as some other clubs, and the fact that they tried to make a decision that worked for all of non-league step 3 downwards, which is 1,000+ clubs. So they can't make sort of allowances for one league and another. but it's particularly harsh on those two teams. And if it were me, I think I'd have promoted teams that were in automatic promotion spots. Maybe not playoffs, but teams at the top of those leagues that were due to go up. I'd promoted but not relegated, and then just shuffled the numbers down the season after. They were looking to expand Step 5 and Step 4 anyway. And by the time sadly we lost a few clubs due to this crisis that are going to fold or going to pull reserve teams out in Step 6, by the time we've done all of that, actually I think the numbers would have added up, and probably could have done that all the way up the pyramid. And maybe we promote two from the top of the Championship without finishing the season. Well, Premier League has 22 teams for a season. It's had 22 teams before. More games, more TV money. Right. I don't think anyone would have complained. I think that could work.
I think for me, this has been, and again, I'm sorry I'm going off topic here. For me, this was kind of the FA's biggest chance to show that they don't view non-league as a nothing league, and that's what it feels like. For the fans, I think this was their biggest opportunity to really back grassroots football and say, right, this is what we're going to do, and they've just not bothered. And I think you're right. The decision. It was too soon. I think it was too soon. I think, like you said before, if they're not going to cancel the Premier League because of the money. I honestly think that the TV rights that would be owed, I think they're going to give that as much time as possible to play that. But then you're seeing it's almost like a ripple effect through the divisions as it gets higher and higher. Things are getting cancelled. So League 2, as you touched on before, now that's been finished. It's now. It's obviously going to be either League One next or they'll make that decision. But I completely agree with what you're saying. I don't understand how they could have made these decisions and almost let a lot of clubs down. It's tough to take, I think, for fans.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that certainty that the season had finished was helpful for clubs. And the fact that, it was remarkably quick, Step 3 to 7, that decision. It was, we played games on the Saturday. By the following Friday, 6 days later, the FA were asking league chiefs to come with a decision. The following Monday, they said, right, sort of thing. Wednesday, they'd announced a null and void decision. It was about 9 or 10 days from the last game finishing in March. They'd announced null and void. It was still in March. It was remarkably quick. That certainty that the season wasn't going to come back was helpful, I think. Not to have to, keep players on contract and keep maintaining facilities. That was helpful. But could have finished it and then kept the situation on ice and said, we don't know what's going to happen with promotion and relegation at the moment. Bear with us. We want to see how the rest of it plays out, and then I think make a decision when we know what league's going to finish and what leagues aren't. I think to me that would have made more sense. At the moment, it's this sort of weird National League waiting for the EFL and the EFL waiting for the National League, and League 2 saying that they want to promote 3 or 4 teams but don't want to relegate anybody. Well, that's great. You ask those, of course they're going to say that. You ask clubs in the National League, do you want to promote 2 teams but not relegate anyone? They're going to say yes. But something's got to give, and somebody's got to show a little bit more leadership and try and join up the ladder and the pyramid, because it feels like non-league have been forgotten about and let down in this current situation. And it's not easy. It's a really difficult situation, and all these people that are used to meeting and coming up with decisions, they have to meet on Zoom and on Skype, and they're not used to that. And of course, some of them have got ill, and we lost the general secretary of the Spartan League, Mike Appleby, to coronavirus. Of course, that stuff is more important. Of course, these people are not going to be in the position to make the best decision because they're facing all these challenges. However, I think it was an opportunity to show how joined up the English football pyramid was or could be. And unfortunately, we've ended up with this really fragmented approach, league by league, and non-league's been left behind and forgotten. And the National League have worked and campaigned for years and years to try and get firstly 1 promotion spot and then 2. And it feels like this season they're going to lose that. And I feel sorry for Harrogate and those teams in the playoffs that would have had a chance to go up to the Football League. However, it's difficult to relegate a club like Stevenage who haven't finished the season. So I do see that.
No,
I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make the decision.
No, quite right. And something else? I speak to a couple of managers of non-league, and I said, the decision, how you feeling? And of course, met with anger at first, and then it was sort of, okay, well, it's happened now. What can we do? And then I spoke to the one, and the first thing he said to me was, they still want the fine money, and all the bans are going to upheld. And I thought, oh, well, he can't win. I digress, but at least, as you said, we know where we stand. That's the main thing. Again, the other question is, when will the season start? It's so many questions, and as you said, luckily enough, we don't have to make those decisions. With regards to favourite player you've watched live, Ollie, who would you say it is?
I always like a young player in non-league who's clearly already levels above that level and will go on to great things. going back to sort of growing up and watching Aylesbury United players like Jermaine Darlington, who went on to play for QPR. We had Leon Barnett, who was loaned from Luton at that point, who ended up playing he played 5 or 6 games for Aylesbury United and levels above, and then went on to play for Norwich in the Premier League, and had a really good career in Football League. That's always fun. I always like I like strikers who are playing below the level they should be at, or playing below the level they should be at, who score
getting goals.
John Frendo from St Albans used to bang them in. A chap called Lewis Putnam at Oxford Jets was great. He scored 53 league goals in a season, I think. Players like that who are just playing for the love of it at a level that they could play higher, but they're playing with their mates and they're enjoying football and they're banging in the goals week in, week out. And Lewis Putnam was a fun player. Player who basically, as far as I could tell, only had maybe doing him discredit, but basically every time cut inside centre back and just rifled in a shot from 20, 25 yards, hit it with power, and more from that went in. It was just I always thought if you could show him outside, he'd probably go nowhere every time. Inside worked it. I guess there isn't scouting at that level so much.
These are our heroes. These are the non-league heroes. These are what these people go and watch and fall in love with. There's a player in who played for Telford. He's been around the non-league scene for a while. Kyle Perry, and he was a goal machine. Everywhere he went, he scored goals and built like a machine. But had a couple of bites at the cherry in league football, but ultimately non-league football was where he was king. And it's you're completely right. It's nice to see these players who you can see quite clearly could play at that higher level, but when you're stood there watching them and they are just tearing up every team they're playing, it's really fun to watch. It is. I agree with that. What would you say your longest distance you've travelled for a game would be?
I'd love to say something like Morocco or something really exotic. It's probably Accrington or something like that.
Who are they?
I've done a few. I do football commentary. I've done a few sort of obviously based down south-ish in Buckinghamshire. So I've done a couple of sort of Accrington, Bradford clubs like that. I've not done Carlisle yet. I've not done Exeter, who would probably be sort of furthest in that direction. So probably 4 hours to Accrington, something like that, which actually lovely ground. I like Accrington. It's sort of like a non-league ground with bits added. Big fan of Accrington. Good
travel that is. I tell you something that just made me chuckle is you saying about you do your commentary. I did. I attempted to do a watch along for the Borussia Dortmund game at the weekend, and I've never done it in my life. And I've always fancied myself because I can talk football, thinking, I'd love to be a commentator. And I found myself watching the screen, just watching the football, and then realising I'm live. I'm not speaking to anyone. I'm just too busy watching the game. I mean, how do you stop yourself from doing that, being sort of drawn into the game and not talking, or is it something you just get used to doing?
It's hard, isn't it? It's harder than it looks. I still wouldn't, confess to being any good at it. Hopefully, it's adequate. It's really difficult. It's knowing players first of all, and player identification and working out. And they move around. It's really unhelpful. They never stay still. That's kind of your first challenge. If you can watch, and if you're watching 2 teams and you can name both sets of 11 off the top of your head without looking, you're halfway there, and that's always the challenge. And then it's doing your best to describe what's happening with people who aren't there, and it's learning. The lower down I do a lot of non-league commentary, and so the lower down you go, you'll know this, the quicker you can go from nothing happening to there's a goal. It's generally it's long ball forward, and 49 times out of 50 that long ball will be cleared and it's nothing. It's almost not worth commentating on because you're chatting about something else you're doing later scores. And the one time you don't say, long ball played forward or the goalkeeper setting a goal kick, it's bounced once, the striker's gone through and scored. You can go from 0 to 100 in non-league so quickly. It's been at that point. If you listen to really good commentators on 5 Live on Talk Sport, rarely they caught off guard by a goal, are they?
No.
You always get the build up. Whereas my commentary maybe a little bit less, but I think if you can commentate a non-league, you can commentate anywhere. And non-league as well, the lower down you go, you don't get squad numbers in the way that in the Football League and the National League, who's wearing 23, you know who it's going to be, before the game who it's going to be. Non-league, you're ready, so you get a formation, you get a team sheet maybe 10 minutes before, or it's been put on Twitter, 1 to 11, players have changed numbers since last week, you've got to work out what on earth system they're playing, and that'll often change midway through. It's challenge, and you're commentating on sort of pitch level without a table or anything else, you know.
Yep, and that's it. And it's like I looked back at a little bit of the video and I deleted the whole thing in the end because I looked back. I thought I looked like a dodgy cam girl. I looked so dodgy. I was just staring at the screen, and then I realized after like 5 minutes, I was like, oh my god, yeah. So Haaland's on the ball. If anyone's still here, but yeah, I completely agree. You never hear a commentator caught off guard. They're on it, aren't they? Completely from the first blow the whistle to the last. And yeah, I mean, it's something that more power to you, because I mean, I struggle talking about it, let alone watching it. In non-league, when I film games, you know, you're completely right. You can be watching a game and you only have to lose sight of the ball for a second. It's in the back of the net. It's gone. So no, I see what you're saying there. With regards to fans that you've witnessed, who would you say the best are?
I had a really fun game earlier on this season. Leighton Town hosting Eastbourne. Oh gosh, Eastbourne Town, not Eastbourne Borough. Eastbourne Borough are the bigger non-league side. Eastbourne Town. And Eastbourne Town have got this ultras group who bring sort of flares to every game, make lots of noise, drums, things like that. And Leighton Town equally have sort of a really passionate support. And it was this brilliant FA Vars game. It was at Leighton Town at Belclose, and you had two sets of fans, both behind the same goal. You know, no need for any proper segregation, no stewards, no police, none of that. You know, it's non-league, FA Vars game. But, you know, probably 100 Leighton Town fans, 75 Eastbourne fans, singing the heart out, sort of flares everywhere. You know, they scored smoke bombs, all sorts going on. Great fun, really sort of good, really in the spirit of it, and you know, nothing nasty. I think that's brilliant. They're great fun. It's the Eastbourne fans.
I love that. And do you know what? I read something on Twitter the other day, and Twitter can be the death of you sometimes, because you read a comment and like, it's because I have a page now. If it's my personal page, I'm like, right, hang on a second, I'm not having this. But because it's my proper page, I can't really comment. But the chap said, why would I want to go and stand in the freezing cold next to some alcoholic and his son watching terrible football? And now, because I've watched a bit of non-league football this season, I'm like, hang on a second, it's not like that at all. You know, and as you said, there's some good players in non-league, and this myth that it's just, you know, awful football, it's so wrong. And I have to stop myself so many times from going, right, hang on a second, mate, you've got that completely wrong. And you know, being an advocate for non-league yourself, I'm sure stuff like that must really annoy you too.
Yeah, you learn you can't win. You learn to just leave it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm married, so I definitely know that one.
I'm quite a big fan of. I'll post what I think. I'll leave it. I'll just let other people, you know, comment and chat amongst themselves. And rarely do I get. And I normally regret it if I get involved, because you can't win. You can't change people's mind necessarily. Well, I don't think you can on Twitter anyway. You know, if you want to say,
no,
look, I'll take you to a game. You can do that to people you know, but you can't do it.
Yeah.
I think you just have to keep banging on about what you believe and hope some people listen. But there's a real community. I love the community around non-league and around different clubs as well. You know, you've got in the Premier League, if you're talking about Man United, Man City fans don't want to know. If you're talking about Man City, Man United fans don't want to know. You know, you've got that rivalry that you don't. Yeah, there's rivalries in non-league football, but generally most people are interested in quite a few clubs within the local area and kind of want to know how each other are getting on. And you know, people follow more than one club, and if a local club is having a good FA Trophy or FA Vars run, it might not be the one that you normally go and watch. You go and watch them and you cheer them on as well. And I think that's what's really, really nice about non-league football. And I think that's why, doing a non-league show on radio, and why podcasts like this and stuff like that work, it reaches an audience that isn't just a fan base of one particular club, but it's a much broader fan base. And there's thousands and thousands of non-league fans up and down the country.
And it's something you touched on there, and it's completely right, that community feel with a non-league club. And also, I don't think people realise just how much work these volunteers in the community put into running a club. You know, you get there. I tend to, if I'm covering a game, obviously not to your standards, Ollie, but if I'm covering a game and I get there early, you know, you've got a lady running around getting the kits ready, getting the tea ready, getting all the food ready, and it's like people turn up 50. They don't see that. People don't see how much work, and they don't realise how much that £5 admission, how far it goes in a club. It's the romantic side of football, isn't it? It's the you know, the stuff that we love to see. It's why we love the game.
Yeah, and there's a huge amount they need to do, and you know, even quite low down clubs need to do, you know, provide a program, things like that. And actually, if you're playing, you know, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and you've got rearranged games and stuff like that, and you've got to get your program off to the printers to get it back 48 hours before, stuff like that. And clubs get fined in leagues for not having a program. So actually that's a huge headache. That's a hassle. And what if the guy that does the programs is off on holiday, or he's got to think of something new to put in every week, and they've got to get the kit washed. And I love a non-league team that wears their away kit away, not for commercial reasons, just because they can't turn the kits around and get them washed quick enough to wear the home kit twice in a row, And then it's the tea lady or the tea guy that will bake a couple of cakes for a game and sell them by the slice.
Yeah, definitely.
A proper China mug that you can have in the stand and take it back after a half time, stuff like that. Brilliant.
It's spot on, isn't it?
There's so many good characters in non-league. It's only people that I think just showed a tiny bit too much interest as a fan, got roped into doing one thing before they know it. They're having to do the team sheet and sort out the referee's room and run the bar and
get character like that at every club, isn't there? When you go there and they say, I just need to find the match sheet. Oh, you need to speak to John over there. He's just doing the tees. He's just helping the lads warm up. He'll be back in a minute, and you meet them and they're the heroes. They love, but the thing is, they love the club, don't they? That club is, it's their Manchester United, their Arsenal. They adore these clubs, and that's why I love it. I went, and I know it sounds silly, but I went to watch Dudley Town against Wellingborough in the FA Vars. Dudley Town had never got that far before. It was the second round, and the owners put on the bus ride for them. Just something as simple as a bus journey down, and normally they'd have had to have chipped in 10, 15 quid each out of their own money to do it. But it was like you just don't realise how much people take it for granted. League Two, I'd say conference now up. They've got their own transport. They don't have to worry about that. That's all done. It's that pound goes a long way for every football club, doesn't it? It's what we love. It's what we love.
Yeah, it really does. And you even have it's the managers I feel sorry for. They're not only having to think of the tactics, they're having to think of how players going to get to games. And so is really on the left wing, but he can't drive. He needs to be picked up by somebody to take him there. And do players know where they're going and all that sort of stuff as well? And who's bringing the training codes, who's washed the kit? It's a huge job matching a non-league football club. I think that's why you see so many joint managers. It's because you need more than one to try and organise it all. Poor guys, but they put so much in, and the reward. I think the reward must be more. It is for volunteers and fans when they get results and they get promoted, and they get cut runs, things like that. It just means so much more because it's their local community and it's something they've put heart and soul into.
Yeah, I completely agree. So we'll go from the positive side of it. What's the to the negative side, should I say? What's the worst thing that you've witnessed on your travels?
Luckily, nothing sort of in terms of fans or anything negative like that. I don't think I've ever seen fans behaving too badly. A few nasty injuries, certainly. Games stopped for concussions, things like that, and games called off. A couple of times, games called off for nasty leg breaks. Locally, Lee Bircham, brother of Mark Bircham, who used to be at QPR, really nasty leg breaks sort of midway through. So one of these cup games that sort of like League Cup or Division 1 League Cup, how non-league has about 12 cups. One of those sort of, the game was at 3-0, sort of nothing really in it, and broke his leg, and that was game had to be called off. Foil put over and stuff like that was pretty nasty. Of my own doing, I went to a Barnet game once and left my iPad there. That was pretty dreadful.
Oh no!
I didn't realise when I went home. Luckily, the nice security people handed it in. I had to go all the way back to Barnet again to pick up the following day. So that was journey had to do twice, but at least they found it. That was my own fault.
That's good. At least you got it back. That's the positive thing. Well, I mean, would you say? And I've asked someone else this, and I'll ask you this: with regards to football being away for so long, do you feel like this could potentially be a positive thing for non-league people who have just missed the game so much that as soon as there's football there, they could perhaps go back, or do you think non-league again? I personally think non-league's becoming more popular. From what I see, and I think it is probably a lot to do with social media. I think now the clubs have their Twitter handles, their Facebook, their Instagram. They're reaching more fans than they normally would, aren't they? So it's a two-part question. I'll start again. What would you say about fans coming back? Do you think there's an interest?
When we kind of initially entered this crisis period of games being called off, I perhaps naively thought, well, the Premier League will be the first to be called off and the last to come back. I sort of thought, we'll ban gatherings of more than 1,000 people or whatever, but non-league might thrive because non-league, that very last weekend when non-league games stayed on with the Football League cancelled, I thought, well, maybe, we might see them all cancelled, but non-league will be the first. Maybe non-league will start in August and, the Football League won't start till later because, they're bigger crowds, but then you've got this whole behind closed doors element to it, and actually money talks in the professional game, and they're finding ways to get games on, whereas behind closed doors doesn't work in non-league because you haven't got the infrastructure there to film games and stream it, and you won't be. I don't think there's a model where you can stream games and charge fans enough to watch it to make it work. And then the cost of testing as well, whether it was £140,000 per club to finish the season in League One, they were talking about, non-league that sort of money, not even in the National League, I don't think. So I think, unfortunately, non-league might be the last to come back. So in the way that we all suddenly found ourselves watching the Korean League and picking our favourite Bundesliga team, if non-league had been able to come back first, I think you'd have seen people flock to watch it. But unfortunately, this current climate, it can't work like that. So I think it might be damaged by that. I think it might be damaged by the fact that the Football League might start again. And actually, if you support a local non-league team, you might decide to go, up the road and watch more Coventry, because then it is a bit more up the road for Coventry at the moment, isn't it? But you might, because they're playing again, if you can watch them, or you might at least watch them on TV and start following them. I think it'd be difficult. I think what works for non-league and clubs' favours is, yes, they've still got outgoings and they've still, have to cancel summer events, and financially it's not easy, but most clubs haven't got players on 3 years of contracts and they're not paying players anymore. The season finished, and mostly anyway, they're not having to worry about that sort of weekly and monthly expenditure. So to a point, I think clubs can sort of hibernate and wait for the restart of football, which will help. I mean, hopefully, when football came back after the Second World War, I think crowds were up and everyone was so happy to go and see it. Hopefully that will happen, but it's going to be really tricky, this behind closed doors, exactly what the guidelines are going to be. But I don't think football's going to start again in August for non-league, I think, sadly. I think maybe at some level, maybe Sunday league. I don't know. It's hard to see, isn't it? That maybe Sunday league football will be acceptable at that point. So if Sunday league football is acceptable, maybe county league football is acceptable. I don't know at what point it sort of becomes a problem, and you might see county league games, playing on Sunday, and actually people are going to watch them. But then that kind of creates the problem that you've then got spectators and you've got fans. So
we've had 1,500 people turn up to watch the Dog and Duck against the Red Lion.
Well, exactly, because you would, wouldn't you? If that was the only game on, if that was the only game started in August, you'd go, you'd go and watch that. So that creates a problem in itself. Right? It's difficult, and it's whether it totally depends on what the guidelines are going to be, and it totally depends on safety of players and how they can make it happen. I think we're in for a bit of a wait yet, sadly.
Oh, don't say that. and that's another thing I was going to say that's quite laughable, really, is something you touched on there about players' contracts. One of the reasons they cancelled non-league is they were worried about players' contracts, and I thought, well, in non-league you don't have to worry about contracts really a lot, do you? But and that's the worry. I think like everyone is worried about, if it all comes back too soon and we get that horrible second spike, it goes back to square one, and we're longer without football. It's we've missed the Euros. It was going to be a great summer of football this year. I was really looking forward to it. So everything's sort of pushed back a bit now, and we're in limbo. We're in limbo. But no, that's life, isn't it? We'll just have to get on.
Yeah, well, it will make us appreciate it more when.
Oh yeah.
That first time you can go to a game as a fan, it will make you appreciate the game even more. It's just a shame that at the moment we'd have been, just watching playoff games. Yes, it was non-league finals day. All those brilliant sort of end of season games where it's sort of in the sunshine and you haven't got the floodlights on until 9 o'clock at night. We're going to miss that. We're not going to see that this year. Whatever happens, we're probably not going to see those early August games where it's still light and still hot and barely a blade of grass on the pitch. It's a shame.
It is a shame. I'll tell you what I was going to quickly ask you off the cuff, actually, because obviously when I spoke to you earlier, I was very much like, it fills me with pride to speak to you, Ollie. Have you ever excuse me? Have you ever been sort of starstruck by someone that you've interviewed and met, or have you?
That's a good question. Football wise, it was that's good. Someone like Harry Kewell when he was at Crawley, and I was there covering. I think who were they playing? Maybe Wickham. I think were at Crawley, something like that. And I've interviewed managers at that level, and championship managers. And actually, Slaven Bilic even more so. Actually, but Harry Kewell as well. Harry Kewell was really nice. Slaven Bilic was
really
just the charisma of the guy. I was covering Luton West Brom, and you sort of waiting in this press conference room, media room, and just him walking in. He's just one of these people. I don't pick it up on telly or a match of the day or just every word he said. Just everyone on every syllable of every word he said. Just the guy just absolutely kind of oozed charisma, and I think you realise sometimes it takes that to be a top level manager. It takes that sort of the ability to command the room, command the group of egos, and that was a bit kind of like, oh wow, yeah, I can see why he says things and people listen, and of course the stuff he was saying as well made sense as well. He was great. I saw Jeff Stelling at non-league game. He was watching Hartlepool.
Hartlepool, massive Hartlepool.
Forum said hello to him as well. He seemed like a really nice chap. And Gary Neville, following Salford when they were there as well.
Oh, really?
There's a few names obviously that follow National League.
What was he like to speak to? Was he quite approachable, or?
Yeah, I mean, it was more of a nod than anything else. He was filming a documentary at that point, I think. But yeah, seemed very nice.
He quite surprised me actually. I was listening to because he's been doing a lot of things with Sky Sports recently, where little interviews, and they asked him, I don't know if you heard it, who you'd play for if you didn't play for United, and he said obviously Leeds, Liverpool, City are out the window, but he said Arsenal. He said if he was told he was not going to be playing football for United past age 28, he said I'd have gone to Arsenal because I really enjoyed the way they played and what they stood for. And I was like, that surprises me because as you know, being an Arsenal fan, when United and Arsenal back in the late 90s, early noughties, they battled. That was a war, wasn't it? So it's quite crazy to hear someone like that pick Arsenal, really.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a bit of a mutual respect looking back at it maybe between those two. So the way that it sounds like Arsene Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson have sort of become quite close friends after they've both left clubs, and they seem to be they dine together at these awards dues and things by all accounts. I think there's a different era of football. Actually, they both those clubs sort of help one another almost in that rivalry and push each other on. Yeah. Then I think Jose Mourinho arrived on the scene and they both hated him more than they hated each other, and that changed and that sort of changed the dynamic. But I think there's probably a bit of nostalgia to that sort of era of player in between those two clubs.
I think we miss that, don't we, in the Premier League now? You don't really get the rivals like that, essentially, do you? Where it's a two-horse and it is just blood, sweat, and tears. Nothing's left on the field. And like you watch the interviews with United players, and the first thing they say is after every game they checked what Arsenal were doing because they had to know. And football this season. I mean, City and Liverpool. You can't really call them rivals. I don't think Liverpool just. And it touches back what you said before. I think Liverpool deserve to have the Premier League. I think I'm a United fan and it breaks my heart, but they've earned it. They've played fantastic football. They should have won it last year. So to end the season, I think it'd be a travesty if they didn't win.
Yeah, I mean they probably could lose every single game and still pick it up. You expect City to probably drop that many points, and yeah, absolutely deserve to win it. But I think they probably want to be able to do it on the pitch. They don't want to be that sort of asterisk of, Liverpool awarded the trophy but didn't finish the season. It's been a long wait for Liverpool fans. So I think they want that, and they probably deserve that based on their performance so far. It seems like Premier League football's probably going to come back, isn't it? They're behind closed doors, and it looks like we're going that way. And actually, I was impressed. I was expecting worse in terms of a lack of atmosphere and not feeling like proper football. I think actually playing in stadiums I think makes a big difference. I think if it's done on a sort of neutral ground or St George's Park in England, something like that was suggested, I think that really does feel like a sort of a weird training match. I think games being played inside the stadium, I think that adds something. And I enjoyed watching the Bundesliga games over the weekend. Maybe it's just because we've not seen football for so long. Maybe it's that.
I agree, but do you know something I couldn't stop laughing at? And this sounds like I'm sort of mocking the laws at the moment, but was the subs were sat 2 meters apart from each other. They had their masks on, but they go onto a field where there's 22 men right next to each other. I thought, I get what obviously they've got to promote. I think that's what the issue was, promoting, the 2 meter rule. But oh my God, it was just quite bizarre to watch, and the goal celebrations, they got me, the running past and the elbows. People can't see what I'm doing, but the elbows up to each other is, but like you said, I think just have any football back is a bonus. Whether or not it's anytime soon, we don't know. But I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me tonight, Ollie. Absolutely, really enjoyed it, mate. And if it wasn't for the fact I think you're a busy man, I could probably sit on here for another 6 hours and talk to you, mate. I really do. But no, really appreciate it, mate. And thank you so much for the job that you do in non-league and promoting it. You are a very good advocate of non-league. And do you know what? There was a couple of managers that messaged me tonight and said, "Oh, tell me what he says about non-league later on." I said, "Well, you'll have to wait for the episode." I'm not doing that. But yeah, thank you, mate. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind. And really enjoyed it. Anytime.
Good. Brilliant stuff. Right, well, we'll leave it there. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And Ollie, take care, mate, and stay safe.
Thank you. You too.
So there we have it, guys. Episode 6. Very, very much done and dusted for you. Really enjoyed the episode with Ollie. Such a fantastic insight to the non-league game. As always, thank you so much for stopping by. And please remember, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on the social media accounts. Football Is, and That Is What I Want on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And at Football Want on Twitter. As always, guys, take care, stay safe. Remember, be thinkers, not stinkers. Au revoir, sayonara.